Have you ever said something and immediately wished you could grab the words right out of the air? That instant regret, when your heart sinks and your mind whispers, "Why did I say that?" is something we've all felt. Words are like arrows. Once released, they never return. But what if you could master the art of speaking so that every word you choose carries wisdom, strength, and grace? That's exactly what we're exploring today. 6 things a truly wise and grounded person never says, inspired by the timeless philosophy of Stoicism. You see, to the Stoics, speech wasn't just noise, it was a reflection of one's inner discipline. Every sentence was a window into the soul. Your tone, your restraint, your choice of words, all reveal how much control you truly have over yourself. From the courage to stay silent in chaos, to the humility of not boasting about what you know. These are the marks of someone whose wisdom doesn't shout, it radiates. And by the end of this video, you'll walk away with practical tools to transform not only how you speak to others, but how you speak to yourself. So take a deep breath, let go of distractions, and step into this journey with me. A journey that will show you how your words can become your greatest allies in the pursuit of peace, influence, and inner strength. Let's begin. 1. The wise never flaunt what they know. There's a difference between sharing knowledge and showing off knowledge. And that difference defines how others see you. We've all met someone who just can't stop talking about what they know. How many books they've read, what projects they've completed, or how deep their understanding is. At first, they seem impressive, but over time, that admiration quietly fades, replaced by something colder, distance. Because deep down, we all sense it, when someone's speaking to be admired rather than to enlighten. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Only the educated are free." But he didn't mean those who parade their knowledge. He meant those whose wisdom sets them free from the need to prove anything. Let me share a story. There was once a man named Elias, a brilliant engineer known for solving complex problems. But Elias had one flaw. He needed everyone to know just how brilliant he was. In every meeting, he'd mention his past achievements, correct others mid-sentence, and use every chance to showcase his intellect. At first, people listened. After all, he was talented. But as time went on, his presence became suffocating. Conversations with him felt less like collaboration and more like competition. One day, his mentor, an older, quiet man named Victor, said something that changed him forever. He said, "Elias, the loudest person in the room rarely has the deepest thoughts. Wisdom doesn't echo, it resonates." That struck Elias deeply. He realized that the very need to prove his knowledge was proof of his insecurity. And from that day, he practiced something new, the art of quiet competence. He stopped trying to impress and started to contribute. He listened more. He spoke less. And, ironically, that's when people started truly seeing his brilliance. This is the essence of Stoicism. True wisdom doesn't announce itself. It's felt in your calm, your patience, your restraint. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The fruit of this life is good character and acts for the common good." In other words, your words should serve, not shine. So the next time you feel tempted to prove how much you know, pause and ask yourself, am I speaking to connect or to impress? If it's the latter, hold your tongue. Let your actions, your consistency, your problem-solving, your kindness speak instead. Because real intelligence doesn't demand attention. It earns it. And in that quiet confidence, you'll discover one of the greatest Stoic powers of all, the strength of humility. 2. The wise never dismiss another's opinion. There's a subtle arrogance that hides in everyday conversations. The moment when we stop listening because we think we already know better, it's not always loud. Sometimes it shows up as a smirk, a sigh, or the quiet urge to interrupt. And yet this small act, the dismissal of another's voice, can reveal more about our ignorance than their idea ever could. The Stoics warned against this kind of intellectual pride. Epictetus once said, "It is impossible to learn what one thinks one already knows." When we close our ears to others, we aren't protecting our wisdom. We're isolating it. Let me tell you about Clara, a team leader at a fast-paced design firm. She was sharp, decisive, and always ready with solutions. Her colleagues admired her efficiency, until one afternoon during a project review, a junior designer shyly suggested a different approach. Clara barely looked up from her laptop. "That won't work," she said flatly. The room fell silent. The young designer nodded, embarrassed, and the conversation moved on. Days later, Clara's supervisor pulled her aside and asked, "Do you know what idea you just rejected?" He then explained that the same concept, slightly refined, had been proposed again, and it ended up saving the company thousands in production costs. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. It wasn't the missed opportunity that haunted her. It was the realization that she had become deaf to others. Her certainty had built a wall between her and the truth. From that day on, she made a quiet promise to herself to listen, even when her ego didn't want to. She began asking questions like, "Tell me more about that," or "How do you see this working?" At first, it felt unnatural, but slowly something shifted. Her team grew more open, ideas flowed freely, and solutions became more innovative than ever. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If anyone can refute me, show me I'm mistaken in thought or deed, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth." That is the essence of wisdom, the courage to be corrected. You see, dismissing another's opinion doesn't make you strong. It reveals your fragility. The wise know that every person, even the quietest voice in the room, carries a fragment of truth that you may have overlooked. Listening doesn't mean agreeing. It means respecting. It's an act of humility, an acknowledgement that wisdom is a collective pursuit, not a personal possession. So the next time you find yourself ready to dismiss someone's idea, pause. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of hearing? Maybe, just maybe, the insight you've been missing is hiding in the very opinion you were about to ignore, because the truly wise don't seek to win conversations. They seek to understand them. 3. The wise don't complain without purpose. Complaints are like smoke. They fill the air, cloud our vision, and choke the spirit of those around us. We all know someone who complains constantly. The weather, their boss, their workload, traffic, the universe itself, everything seems designed to frustrate them. At first you sympathize, but over time their words start to feel heavy, as though every conversation drags you closer to their storm. The Stoics believed that complaining without purpose is one of the most subtle ways we give up our power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Let me tell you the story of Daniel, a man whose mind had become a prisoner of his own frustrations. Daniel was a respected teacher, known for his sharp intellect. But as the years went on, his passion began to fade. He complained about the students. They're not what they used to be. He complained about the system. It's all politics now. He even complained about his own exhaustion. "I'm too tired to make a difference anymore." Every morning, he'd sit at his desk, sigh, and mutter, "What's the point?" And every day, his energy dimmed a little more. Then one afternoon, during lunch break, a fellow teacher, younger, less experienced, sat beside him and said, "Daniel, I hear what's wrong every day. But what's still right?" That question landed like a spark in the dark. Daniel paused. For the first time in months, he realized he couldn't answer. He had spent so long narrating his frustrations that he'd forgotten to notice his blessings, the few students who still cared, the lessons that still inspired, the quiet moments of progress that still existed. That day, Daniel decided on a Stoic experiment. For 1 week, he wouldn't complain, unless he followed it immediately with an action. If he complained about a student, he'd mentor them. If he grumbled about the school, he'd write a proposal for improvement. If he felt tired, he'd rest without guilt instead of resenting his fatigue. By the end of that week, Daniel didn't just speak differently, he felt different. The burden of helplessness had lifted. His words began shaping his world instead of shattering it. The Stoics understood this truth well. When you complain about what you cannot control, you become a victim. But when you focus on what you can control, you reclaim your sovereignty. So the next time frustration rises within you, pause and ask, is this complaint serving me or stealing from me? If it serves no purpose, release it. If it holds meaning, let it lead you toward action. Because wise people don't waste words on what they can't change, they use their words to change what they can. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." In other words, stop narrating your dissatisfaction. Start living your solution. When you rise above complaining, your calm becomes contagious. Your presence becomes a refuge, and your silence begins to speak louder than 1,000 grievances. That is the language of wisdom. Or, the wise do not make empty promises. A promise is more than words. It's a bond, an invisible thread that connects your integrity to another person's trust. When kept, it strengthens that thread until it becomes unbreakable. But when broken, even once, it begins to fray. The Stoics believed that character is revealed not in what we say we'll do, but in what we quietly follow through on. Seneca wrote, "Promises are not to be made lightly, for they weigh on the soul." Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Thomas, a small business owner known for his kindness and optimism. He wanted to make everyone happy, his clients, his employees, his family. So whenever someone asked him for a favor, his answer was almost always the same. "Absolutely. I'll take care of it." At first, people admired his enthusiasm, but soon things began to fall apart. Emails went unanswered. Deadlines slipped. Family dinners were missed. Each unkept promise left a small dent in his credibility, and those dents added up. One evening, his son came into his office holding a baseball glove. "Dad, you said we'd play today." Thomas looked at the unfinished paperwork on his desk and forced a smile. "Just give me 5 minutes," he said. But those 5 minutes stretched into an hour, then 2. When he finally looked up, his son was gone. Glove on the floor, lights off. That moment shattered something inside him. He realized that his words, meant to please, were quietly breaking the hearts of those he loved most. That night, Thomas picked up a journal and wrote a single line from Marcus Aurelius at the top of a page. "If it is not true, do not say it. If it is not right, do not do it." He decided from that moment forward, he would only promise what he could truly deliver. And something unexpected happened. He began saying no more often, gently but clearly. At first, people seemed surprised, even disappointed. But in time, something shifted. Those around him began to trust him again, because every time he said yes, it meant something. The Stoics understood that a promise is not a tool to win approval. It's a reflection of self-respect. When your words and actions align, you become grounded, steady, and dependable. You no longer chase the illusion of being liked. You become respected for being real. So before you promise anything, pause and ask yourself, do I mean this? Can I keep this? Does this align with my values? If the answer is uncertain, it's better to stay silent than to make a commitment your integrity can't afford. Because an honest no is far more noble than a hollow yes. In a world full of noise, people don't remember who spoke the most. They remember who meant what they said, and that is the Stoic's path. To speak less, promise rarely, and live so truthfully that your silence carries the weight of your word. 5. The wise do not deny their mistakes. There's a quiet fear that lives inside every human heart, the fear of being wrong. It's the reason we defend our errors, shift blame, or hide behind excuses. We fear that admitting a mistake means admitting we're not enough, but the Stoics believed the opposite. To them, owning your mistakes wasn't a confession of weakness, it was a declaration of strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone." Truth, for the Stoics, wasn't a matter of pride, it was a matter of peace. Let me tell you the story of Amelia, a project director in a growing company, driven, brilliant, respected. She had a reputation for precision, and she protected it fiercely. One quarter, she made a miscalculation in a budget report. a small oversight that snowballed into a major delay. When the issue surfaced, her instinct was to defend herself. She blamed unclear communication, unrealistic deadlines, anything but her own oversight. But deep down, she knew. The error was hers. A few days later, during a team meeting, the weight of her conscience became too heavy to carry. She took a deep breath and said, "I made a mistake. No excuses. It was mine, and I'm going to fix it." The room went silent. No one scolded her. No one ridiculed her. Instead, something remarkable happened. Her team's respect for her grew. One colleague said quietly, "Thank you for saying that. It helps the rest of us feel human, too." That moment changed Amelia's leadership forever. She discovered that honesty doesn't destroy authority. It builds it. That humility doesn't shrink respect. It amplifies it. The Stoics saw mistakes as teachers, not enemies. To deny them is to deny your own growth. To accept them is to reclaim your power to change. Seneca once wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Your mistakes are that friction, the necessary resistance that shapes you into something stronger. So the next time you stumble, don't run from it. Pause, reflect, take ownership. Say the words that so few dare to say, "That was my fault," and then fix it. Quietly, diligently, without self-pity, because the wise understand a mistake you admit once becomes a lesson. A mistake you deny forever becomes a prison. Honesty is liberation. Accountability is freedom. And truth, even when it humbles you, is the only thing that will never betray you. When you live by this, you stop fearing imperfection. You start embracing growth. And that, the Stoics remind us, is the first step toward true wisdom. 6. The wise do not overshare their future plans. Not every seed needs to be sown before it grows. Not every dream is ready to face the wind. We live in an age of noise, an era where silence is mistaken for inaction, where people feel compelled to announce their every move, every goal, every plan, hoping that public declaration will summon discipline. But the Stoics knew better. They knew that when you speak too soon, you spend the energy meant for doing. Epictetus once warned, "Be silent for the most part, or speak merely what is necessary." Let me tell you a story about Lena, a young writer with a dream to publish her first novel. The moment she began writing, she also began sharing. Tweets, updates, posts. Chapter 1 done. Title reveal coming soon? Book deal in progress. Her friends applauded, her followers cheered, and she felt motivated. But slowly the applause became addictive. The validation replaced the discipline. She found herself talking more about her book than writing it. Months passed, then years. The novel, her real work, remained unfinished. One morning, while scrolling through old drafts, Lena stumbled upon a quote by Marcus Aurelius. "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." She closed her laptop, deleted her announcement posts, and whispered to herself, "Less talk, more work." For 6 months, she vanished from social media. No updates, no progress reports, just silence and steady writing. When she finally resurfaced, she didn't come back with promises. She came back with pages. A finished manuscript. That's when she learned the secret the Stoics had always known, that silence isn't secrecy. It's sacred focus. When you keep your plans private, you protect them from the world's noise, from the opinions that dilute clarity, and from the ego that seeks applause before achievement. The wise understand that every goal is fragile in its early stages, like a flame, easily extinguished by the breath of premature praise. So they guard their ambitions like a candle in the wind. They let results speak where words once would have, because real power doesn't announce itself. It moves quietly, with purpose, with patience, with peace. And when the moment finally comes to reveal what they've built, it isn't a declaration. It's a demonstration. Seneca once wrote, "Let deeds speak for thee." That is the Stoic way. So the next time you feel the urge to tell the world your plans, pause. Hold them close, nurture them in silence, and let your consistency do the talking. because the wise do not overshare, they over-deliver. In the end, this isn't just about avoiding empty promises. It's about something far greater: integrity, awareness, and alignment between your words and your character. Every sentence you speak, every silence you choose, becomes a brushstroke on the canvas of who you are. Stoicism reminds us that our speech isn't just communication, it's reflection. It reveals the depth of our discipline and the state of our inner world. Across this journey, we've explored 6 things a truly intelligent person never says. 6 Stoic habits that can transform not only how you speak, but how you live. First, we learned not to boast about our knowledge, because wisdom doesn't need to shout. It simply shines through quiet confidence. Second, we saw why you should never dismiss someone's opinion, for openness is the gateway to growth, and humility is the mark of true intelligence. Third, we discussed the power of restraint, to stop complaining without purpose and instead turn frustration into focused action. Fourth, we discovered the weight of words in not making empty promises, understanding that credibility is built not through quantity of speech, but consistency of action. Fifth, we learned to embrace our mistakes, knowing that accountability breeds respect and transforms failure into wisdom. And finally, we explored the discipline to keep our future plans private, allowing action to speak louder than declaration and progress to grow in silence. Together, these 6 principles form the foundation of Stoic communication, a language of restraint, reflection, and respect. When practiced, they don't just refine your words. They reforge your character. So before you speak, pause and ask yourself, is this true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? That small act of awareness is Stoicism in motion, philosophy applied, not just studied. Because the goal isn't perfection, it's presence, the kind of grounded presence that brings calm into a noisy world. And as you continue walking this path, remember, wisdom is built in quiet moments of reflection, small acts of integrity, and the courage to change yourself before trying to change the world. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to subscribe to Stoic Sage Academy, turn on the notification bell, and stay connected. This channel is more than a place to learn Stoicism. It's a place to practice it together, one principle at a time. Thank you for being here, for seeking growth, reflection, and truth. Until next time, stay grounded, stay disciplined, and remember, your words shape your world, so speak with wisdom,